The rain hammered against the glass corridors of Adelaide Corporation Tower long after midnight. Archie Lambert pushed his janitor's cart down the empty hallway, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. His 7-year-old daughter, Adelaide, sat on a bench near the elevator, swinging her legs and clutching her worn, stuffed rabbit. Then 3 men stepped out from the stairwell shadows. They moved with purpose toward the little girl. Adelaide's eyes went wide. "Daddy, please stop them!" Her scream shattered the silence. Archie turned. Instinct replaced thought. 6 seconds, that's all it took. A pivot, an elbow strike to the first man's throat, a precise punch that dropped the second, a sweeping kick that left the third unconscious on the polished floor. The next morning, a government motorcade appeared outside their crumbling apartment building. Archie Lambert had learned to make himself invisible. At 36, he stood 6 feet 2 inches with the kind of broad shoulders that came from years of discipline, not gym memberships. His dark brown hair was cut military short, though nobody at Adelaide Corporation knew why. His hands, calloused from pushing mops and carrying trash, bore faint scars that spoke of a different life. Those scars told stories he never shared, tales of a past he had painstakingly buried. He had once been part of something classified a counter-terrorism unit, so secret it had no official name, known only for its retrieval operations, a sanitized term for missions that pulled hostages from compounds that didn't exist on any map. Archie had been exceptional at it, too good for his own good. Then Helen happened. Helen, with her bright laugh and her unwavering belief that Archie could be more than a weapon. They married quietly, building a small haven of peace. When she became pregnant, Archie promised her he would leave the dangerous life behind after just one more mission. But Helen never lived to see that promise fulfilled. Complications during their daughter Adelaide's birth took her away. The doctors used words like hemorrhage and cardiac arrest, but Archie only heard one truth: his wife was gone, and he was holding a newborn who needed him more than any mission ever had. So he disappeared not from Adelaide, but from the world that knew him as an operative. He became a janitor, sacrificing everything to be near his daughter. He worked nights at Adelaide Corporation Tower, one of those glass monuments to wealth and power that dominated the city's skyline. During the day, he was simply Adelaide's father. At night, while she slept in the employee lounge or did homework under the glow of vending machines, he cleaned offices where decisions worth millions were made by people who never saw him. His daughter Adelaide was everything her father was not. Where Archie was quiet, she was endlessly curious. Where he concealed, she innocently revealed. At 7 years old, she had her mother's blonde hair and her father's thoughtful gray eyes. She was shy around other children, but fearless with her father. She asked him questions about everything: why birds flew south, how tall buildings stayed standing, whether stars knew people were watching them. Archie answered what he could and invented answers when he couldn't. She was his whole world, and keeping her safe meant keeping her innocent of the violence he'd left behind. Meanwhile, Alexandra Rhodes ran Adelaide Corporation the way generals ran campaigns, with unwavering strategy, rigid discipline, and an emotional distance that kept everyone at arm's length. At 33, she was younger than most of the board members who had tried and failed to undermine her. She wore her authority like armor, always impeccably dressed. Her blonde hair styled perfectly. Her red V-neck dresses tailored to project power without apology. She walked through her building like she owned it, because in every practical sense she did. But power, she knew, came with its own haunting ghosts. When Alexandra was 14, she had been taken. Her father, Senator Malcolm Rhodes, had enemies who knew that the fastest way to break a man was through his children. She had spent 4 days in darkness, listening to footsteps above her head, wondering if she would ever see sunlight again. Then someone came. She never saw his face clearly, just felt strong arms lifting her, heard a calm voice saying, "You're safe now," as he carried her through what felt like miles of dense forest. By the time the official rescue team arrived, she was already free, and her rescuer was gone, vanishing as silently as he had appeared. The trauma specialist her father hired had assured her she would forget in time. She never did. She remembered the visceral feeling of being utterly helpless, and she built her entire life around never feeling that way again. Control became her religion. Trust became a luxury she simply could not afford. The janitor who worked in her building at night remained invisible to her, just another part of the machinery that kept her empire running smoothly, until the night 3 men came for his daughter. The attack happened in Section 7 of the 42nd floor near the executive suites. Archie had just finished cleaning the last of the conference rooms and was heading toward the service elevator when Adelaide called out that she needed to use the bathroom. He told her to use the one near the waiting area just around the corner. She had barely turned the corner when the stairwell door opened with a soft click. 3 men emerged from the shadows, their movements fluid and purposeful. They were not security, not employees. They moved like hunters, their eyes immediately locking onto Adelaide. The little girl froze, her small body rigid with fear. They were 20 feet away, then 15, then 10. She could make out their faces, cold, professional, utterly empty of mercy. Her lungs found air, and a single piercing scream tore through the silence. "Daddy, please stop them." Archie Lambert didn't think. Thinking took too long a luxury he couldn't afford in that instant. His body remembered what his mind had tried so desperately to forget, responding with an efficiency that bypassed conscious thought. He was already moving when the first man reached for Adelaide. The janitor's uniform became irrelevant, a mere disguise. The mop cart clattered aside, forgotten. He closed the distance in 3 powerful strides. The first attacker barely registered Archie's presence before an elbow caught him in the throat. It was a precise, calculated strike, the kind that didn't kill but absolutely incapacitated, designed to leave the target gasping and helpless. The man crumpled to the floor. The second attacker, reacting with trained speed, threw a punch that would have shattered an ordinary man's jaw. Archie slipped it, redirecting the momentum, and drove his fist into the man's solar plexus. The attacker folded, a silent testament to the devastating force. The third man, more experienced, pulled a knife. It was a big mistake. Archie caught his wrist twisted until something popped, a sickening sound, and then swept his legs out from under him. The man's head hit the polished marble floor with a resounding crack that echoed through the empty corridor. 6 seconds. 3 men neutralized, rendered unconscious and harmless. Adelaide stood frozen, her blue eyes wide with shock, her small chest heaving. Then, with a sudden surge of instinct, she ran, not away from the scene of violence, but toward her father. She crashed into his arms, and he held her tightly, his heart hammering against his ribs, a primal rhythm of fear and relief. She was crying now, her small body shaking uncontrollably. "It's okay, sweetheart," Archie murmured, stroking her hair. "It's okay. Daddy's here." But it wasn't okay. Archie knew these were no random thugs. Their stance, their coordination, their equipment. These were highly trained professionals. Someone had sent them, and worse, someone had sent them to a place where his daughter was vulnerable. He glanced at the security camera blinking red in the corner, its unblinking eye an unwelcome witness. Then he looked at the 3 unconscious men scattered across the pristine floor. He had maybe 5 minutes, he calculated, before backup arrived, before questions got asked that he couldn't answer without exposing everything. He pulled Adelaide closer, shielding her from the sight, and moved fast. He knew where the camera blind spots were, the forgotten corners of the building where the digital eyes couldn't reach. He knew which service stairwell had a broken lock, a forgotten flaw that now offered an escape. By the time Adelaide Corporation security arrived, they would find 3 confused men with no coherent explanation and no janitor in sight, only the eerie silence of a perfectly executed vanishing act. That night, Archie didn't sleep. He sat in their tiny apartment, watching the street below through torn curtains, the city lights reflecting off his haunted gaze. Adelaide slept fitfully, crying out twice in her sleep. Both times he was there instantly, holding her hand, promising her that monsters weren't real. But he knew better. Monsters were very real, and now they knew exactly where he lived. Morning came not with the familiar sound of police sirens, but something else entirely. Adelaide was eating cereal at their small kitchen table when Archie heard them. The distinct low rumble of a motorcade, the kind that meant government business, not local enforcement. He pulled back the torn curtain. 5 black SUVs, sleek and menacing, with official government plates, blocked their crumbling street. Men in tactical vests were already establishing a perimeter moving with practiced efficiency. And stepping out of an armored Cadillac in the very center of it all was Alexandra Rhodes. She wore a striking red dress with a V-neck cut, her blonde hair pulled back tightly, her expression unreadable behind designer sunglasses. Her presence here in this neighborhood where rust stains ran down the sides of buildings and laundry hung on fire escapes was impossible to miss. Neighbors poured onto their stoops, pulling out their phones, whispering. A CEO didn't visit the poor side of town with a government escort unless something seismic was happening, something that shook the very foundations of her empire. Alexandra walked straight to Archie's building, her 2 men in dark suits flanking her like silent sentinels. She climbed the 4 flights of creaking stairs as if she were ascending to a boardroom, her posture unwavering. When she knocked on Archie's door, the sound was steady and professional, echoing in the cramped hallway. Adelaide looked up at her father, wide-eyed, a silent question in her gaze. Archie put a finger to his lips, a signal for quiet, and opened the door just wide enough. Alexandra stood there, her expensive heels sinking slightly into the worn carpet that hadn't been replaced since the 1980s. Up close, without the distance of corporate hierarchy, Archie could see she was younger than he'd thought. And scared, he realized, despite her formidable facade. She was trying to hide it, but the fear was there, a subtle tremor beneath the polished surface. "Mr. Lambert?" Her voice was controlled, betraying nothing. "We need to talk." Immediately, Archie stepped aside, an invitation to enter. Adelaide peeked out from behind him, her worn stuffed rabbit clutched tight to her chest, her small face a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Alexandra's gaze softened for just a moment when she saw the little girl, a fleeting crack in her carefully constructed mask. Then the mask returned impenetrable. "About last night." Archie's tone was neutral, giving nothing away. Alexandra removed her sunglasses, her sharp eyes fixing on him. "So you admit it was you?" she asked, her voice laced with challenge. "I admit I protected my daughter from 3 men who had no business being there." Archie countered, his voice steady, unwavering. Alexandra studied him, then truly studied him. She saw the military posture he couldn't fully hide, the way his eyes tracked her security detail outside the faint scars on his knuckles. She registered the profound calm that radiated from someone who had clearly been in far worse situations. "No ordinary janitor drops 3 trained operatives in 6 seconds, Mr. Lambert," Alexandra stated, her voice sharp with conviction. "And no ordinary CEO shows up at a janitor's apartment with government security." They stared at each other, 2 opposing forces finally meeting. Adelaide, oblivious to the simmering tension, tugged on Archie's sleeve. "Daddy, who's the fancy lady?" Her innocent question momentarily shattered the rigid formality. Alexandra's expression cracked just slightly again. She knelt down to Adelaide's eye level, her movements surprisingly gentle. "I'm Alexandra. I work in the building where your daddy works. He did something very brave last night." Adelaide, with the unwavering trust of a child, replied simply, "He's always brave." Alexandra stood the moment of vulnerability passing. "May I sit down?" she asked. Archie gestured to their worn couch, its springs long past their prime. Alexandra sat looking strangely out of place among their thrift store furniture and patched walls. Her security remained in the hallway, a silent guardian. When the door closed, Alexandra spoke again, her voice lower now. "I've been followed for 3 months. Professional surveillance. Someone breached my personal security network." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "At first, my team thought it was corporate espionage. Then we started finding patterns. The same faces at different events. Cars that appeared too consistently. Last week, my head of security showed me footage of 3 men conducting reconnaissance at Adelaide Corporation. The same 3 men who attacked your daughter last night. Archie felt his blood run cold, a chilling realization dawning on him. They weren't after Adelaide. He said the words barely a whisper. No. Alexandra confirmed, her gaze hardening. They were after me, but I wasn't there. I changed my schedule at the last minute. Security believes they were trying to grab leverage. Your daughter was in the wrong place, Archie said quietly, a grim understanding in his tone. Alexandra leaned forward, her eyes intense. Mr. Lambert, whoever sent those men knows you stopped them. They know you're not what you appear to be. My security ran your background. Your employment history only goes back 7 years. Before that, nothing. No college records, no prior addresses, no digital footprint. You're a ghost. I'm a janitor, Archie stated flatly, his voice devoid of emotion. No, you're someone who became a janitor. There's a difference. Alexandra countered, her perception cutting through his carefully constructed facade. She paused, letting her words sink in. I need to know what we're dealing with. Are you part of this? Are you a threat to my company? Adelaide had wandered to the window, captivated by the motorcade outside. Archie kept his voice low, his gaze fixed on his daughter. I'm a father, trying to raise his daughter in peace. That's all I am now. Whatever I was before doesn't matter. It matters if it puts my company at risk. Archie's tone hardened, a flicker of his old self. Your company, 3 men, tried to grab my daughter. I don't care about your company. I care about keeping her safe. Then we have common ground. Alexandra conceded a reluctant admission. She pulled out her phone, tapping the screen, and showed him footage. These 3, do you recognize them? Archie studied the faces on the screen, his gaze clinically assessing. Military training, private contractor build, Eastern European features on 2 of them. Mercenaries, well-funded ones. How do you know? Alexandra asked, a hint of curiosity in her voice. I know. Alexandra put the phone away. My head of security thinks this is about me, about something from my past. When I was 14, I was kidnapped. It's not public information. My father paid a fortune to keep it quiet, but whoever's behind this knows, and they're recreating it. Her voice was devoid of emotion, a practiced detachment. Why? Archie asked, his mind already piecing together the possibilities. I don't know. Revenge against my father, corporate sabotage. All I know is they're escalating. The 3 men you stopped won't be the last. Archie looked at Adelaide, who was pressing her nose against the window pane, making fog patterns with her breath, her innocence a stark contrast to the darkness unfolding. What do you want from me? He asked, his voice low. Protection for both of us. My security can keep me safe in controlled environments. But you... She paused, her gaze steady. You saw a threat and neutralized it in seconds. I need someone who can do that if things go wrong. I'm not a bodyguard. No. Alexandra countered, a faint smile touching her lips. You're something better. You're someone they won't see coming. Archie stood, his posture rigid. I appreciate the offer, Miss Rhodes, but I left that life behind for a reason. I have a daughter who needs a father, not a weapon. Alexandra stood, too, matching his intensity. Then think about this. If they know about you now, do you really believe they'll leave you alone? You humiliated whoever sent those men. That's not something people like that forgive. The words hung in the air, cold and undeniable. Archie knew she was right. He had broken the first rule of staying hidden, never draw attention. But given the same situation, he knew he would do it again in a heartbeat. I need time, he said, finally, a deep weariness in his voice. You don't have time. Alexandra moved to the door, her demeanor shifting back to her usual sharp efficiency. "My security team has swept this building. You're clean for now, but Mr. Lambert when they come back, and they will don't hesitate to call." She handed him a sleek business card. "That number reaches me directly, day or night." Then she left. The motorcade pulled away 15 minutes later, leaving behind a silence heavier than before. Adelaide turned from the window, her small face etched with concern. "Daddy, are we in trouble?" Archie pulled her into a hug, burying his face in her hair. "No, sweetheart. Everything's going to be fine." But that night he didn't sleep. He sat at the window with the lights off, watching the street below. At 2 o'clock in the morning he heard it. The faint whir of a drone outside their window. It was small, expensive, equipped with a camera lens that glinted ominously in the streetlight. Archie moved fast, his body remembering the precision of his past. He grabbed the broom from the kitchen, opened the window in one smooth, practiced motion, and threw. The broom handle caught the drone perfectly, a sharp, satisfying crack of plastic sending it spiraling into the alley below. By the time he got downstairs, it was gone. Someone had retrieved it, confirming his suspicions. He texted the number Alexandra had given him. "They're watching." Her response came immediately. "Pack a bag. My team is en route." "No, not yet," Archie texted back. "Lambert, don't be stupid." "Not stupid. Careful. If we run, they'll know they've got us scared." "They've got drones on your apartment. You should be scared." Scared and running are different things. There was a long pause, then Alexandra's text came through again. "Then you're insufferable, and you're used to people doing what you say. Fine, but my team is stationed 2 blocks away. If anything happens, they're there in 90 seconds. "Noted," Archie replied. He went back upstairs, but he didn't sleep. He watched the street and he thought about Alexandra's words. He thought about how running from the past never truly worked. He thought about how some things once started had to be finished, no matter the cost. The next day, Alexandra showed up at his work, not his apartment, but the tower. She found him on the 37th floor, emptying trash in an executive conference room. She closed the door behind her, the soft click echoing in the opulent space. No security this time, just her alone. "I've been thinking about what you said." She began, her voice softer than usual. Archie continued working his movements, precise and methodical. "Which part?" he asked, not looking up. "The part about being a father, not a weapon." She paused, her gaze fixed on his calloused hands. "I understand that. More than you might think." Archie looked at her, then truly looked. He saw past the expensive clothes and the corporate armor, past the carefully constructed facade. He saw someone who had been scared at 14 and had never quite stopped being scared. "What happened when you were taken?" he asked quietly, the question hanging heavy in the air. Alexandra's composure cracked just slightly. She walked to one of the conference chairs and sat down, her shoulders slumping. 4 days in a basement. They fed me once a day, told me my father didn't care enough to pay, that I was going to die there. Her voice was steady, but her hands resting on her knees weren't. They trembled, almost imperceptibly. Then someone came, not the police, not the FBI. Someone else. He got me out, carried me through a forest. I remember his arms felt safe. I remember thinking, if I just held on, I'd be okay. She looked up, her eyes meeting Archie's. I never saw his face. He was gone by the time the official rescue team arrived. Archie stopped working, the sudden silence in the room punctuated by his own tight throat. For years, I tried to find him. Alexandra continued, her gaze distant. But there were no records. My father said some operations were too classified to trace, that I should be grateful and move on. I never moved on. I built an empire, instead became powerful enough that no one could ever take me again. But it didn't work. I'm still that scared 14-year-old in the dark. You're not, Archie said, his voice firm. That girl survived. This woman thrived. Did she? Or did she just build higher walls? Before Archie could answer, his phone rang. It was Adelaide's school. His daughter was sick. Nothing serious, just a mild fever, but could he pick her up? He apologized to Alexandra and left, but her words stayed with him. About walls, about survival, about the profound difference between the two. That evening, while Adelaide slept fitfully with a mild fever, Archie received another text. Check your door. He opened it cautiously. Inside the envelope was a photograph. It was Adelaide at school, taken that very day. Someone had been watching. Archie's hands shook with a cold, contained rage. He called Alexandra's number immediately. They photographed my daughter. Come to my office now. Bring Adelaide. It's 11 at night. I don't care. If they're bold enough to surveil a school, they're bold enough to act. My building has security. Yours doesn't. Archie looked at his sleeping daughter, her small face flushed with fever. Then he made the call no parent ever wants to make. He woke her gently. Hey, sweetheart, we need to go somewhere safe tonight. Adelaide, still foggy with fever, didn't question. She trusted him implicitly. That trust, Archie knew, was everything. Alexandra's office occupied the entire top floor of Adelaide Corporation Tower. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking panorama of the city, and minimalist furniture filled the vast space, all designed to intimidate. But when Archie arrived with Adelaide wrapped in a blanket and still drowsy, Alexandra had transformed it. A plush couch was made up with soft pillows and a thick comforter. Hot chocolate waited on a side table, steaming gently. Children's books were stacked neatly nearby. I called my assistant. Alexandra explained, her voice softer than usual. She has nieces. She told me what little girls like. Adelaide perked up at the sight of the hot chocolate and the colorful books. While she drank and paged through a picture book, the two adults talked in low voices across the room, the urgency of their situation a stark contrast to the comforting ambiance Alexandra had created. My security team found the drone you destroyed, Alexandra said. Military grade, the kind that costs 6 figures. Whoever's funding this isn't playing. I know there's more. We traced the mercenaries you stopped. They were hired through a shell company that connects to 15 other shell companies. But at the end of the trail, a name, Dermot Rispin. Archie's blood ran cold. Are you certain you know him? I know of him. He's a fixer. The kind powerful people call when they need problems to disappear. If he's involved, this isn't about money or business. It's personal. Personal. How? Archie hesitated, then decided the truth was the only option. 20 years ago, I was part of a counter-terrorism unit. We did extractions, hostage rescue, the kind of missions that never made the news. One of those missions involved a senator's daughter who'd been taken by a criminal organization. Dermot Rispin was the middleman. We disrupted his operation and he lost a lot of money. He swore revenge against everyone involved. Alexandra's face went pale. What was the senator's name? Rhodes. Senator Malcolm Rhodes. The silence stretched thick and heavy. Alexandra slowly sat down hard, her knees almost buckling. You were the one who saved me. Archie nodded slowly, his gaze steady. I didn't know it was you. I didn't know you were Malcolm Rhodes's daughter. You were just a scared kid who needed help. You carried me through the forest. You told me stories to keep me calm. You said my father loved me very much, and I'd see him soon. I remember. Alexandra's eyes filled with tears, tears she wouldn't let fall, battling them back with a fierce determination. I've been looking for you for 20 years, and you've been here cleaning my building. I didn't know. How could you not know, Alexandra? I've extracted dozens of people. I never learned their names. It was safer that way, for them and for me. When I left the unit, I left everything behind, including the faces of the people I saved. She stood abruptly, walking to the panoramic window. Her reflection ghosted against the glittering city lights, a fragile silhouette against a powerful backdrop. So Dermot Rispin is doing this because of me, because my father refused to pay ransom 20 years ago and your team came instead. Revenge delayed is revenge amplified, Archie stated grimly. He's had 2 decades to build resources and plan this. Then he's not just after me, he's after you too. And Adelaide. Archie looked at his daughter now, sound asleep on the plush couch, her small chest rising and falling gently. I won't let him near her. We won't. Alexandra corrected her voice, firm, resolute. You saved me once. Let me help save her. The next 72 hours moved fast, a blur of intense preparation and heightened alert. Alexandra's security team, now fully briefed and galvanized, swept the entire building. They found 2 more sophisticated surveillance devices, cleverly hidden, and identified 3 potential breach points in the tower's otherwise impregnable defenses. Their investigation quickly confirmed that Dermot Rispin had deep infiltrators inside Adelaide Corporation itself, a seemingly innocuous maintenance worker subtly installed 6 months ago, and a mid-level executive who had been turned through a calculated campaign of blackmail and coercion. But Alexandra and Archie had advantages Dermot couldn't possibly expect. Alexandra possessed vast resources, an almost unlimited budget, and a network of highly skilled professionals. Archie, in turn, offered unparalleled training instincts honed by decades of combat and an intimate knowledge of the building's hidden nooks and crannies. Together, they had something Dermot could not plan for, something more powerful than money or meticulous planning. They cared deeply about the same thing, keeping Adelaide Archie's daughter safe. The very core of their alliance was built on this shared, desperate objective. The attack came on the 4th night, a brutal testament to Dermot's patience and cunning. Adelaide Archie's daughter was sleeping soundly in Alexandra's office, guarded by 2 trusted security personnel, a small island of calm in the storm of impending violence. Archie and Alexandra were reviewing the building's complex schematics, their faces grim under the harsh office lights when suddenly the alarms went silent. Not triggered, not a false alarm, but utterly unnervingly silenced. Someone had expertly hacked their supposedly impenetrable security system, a digital key turning a digital lock. They're here, Archie said, his voice a low growl, devoid of surprise, only cold recognition. He moved with practiced urgency, grabbing a heavy fire extinguisher from its wall mount. It was heavy, blunt, and readily available, a crude but effective weapon. Get Adelaide to the panic room now, he commanded, his eyes fixed on Alexandra. Where are you going? She asked, her voice tight with a mixture of fear and admiration. To buy you time. Archie moved through the darkened corridors like a ghost, his form barely visible in the red glow of the emergency lights. He could hear them now, the soft, deliberate footsteps trying to be quiet, multiple teams moving with chilling coordination. He counted at least 8 hostiles, their positions echoing in the vast, empty spaces. The smart play, the rational play, would have been to hide, to wait for the police to arrive. But police took time. Adelaide didn't have time. He took down the first 2 in a supply closet, the encounter quick and quiet, a blur of motion and muffled impacts. He immediately used one of their radios, tapping into their comms, listening to the others. They were systematically searching floor by floor, a grim, methodical hunt for Alexandra. They didn't know about Archie, the invisible janitor. The 3rd and 4th went down in the narrow confines of a stairwell. Archie used the constricted space to his advantage, preventing them from surrounding him, from using their numbers. One at a time, they fell silent casualties in the darkened stairwell. But the 5th was smarter, more experienced. He didn't come through the door. He came through the window, a sudden violent crash of glass in a conference room. Repelling gear still attached, he nearly caught Archie off guard. They fought hard, a desperate, brutal ballet in the glass-strewn room. Archie took a knife slash across his ribs, a burning pain that grounded him. The mercenary took a heavy office chair to the skull, a resounding thud that sent him to the ground. By the time Archie reached the top floor, his shirt was soaked with blood. Not all his, but a grim mixture. He was breathing hard, each breath a struggle, his knuckles split and bleeding. But Adelaide's room was just ahead her sanctuary, and standing between him and that room were the last 3 mercenaries, and Dermot Rispin himself. Dermot Rispin was in his 50s, his graying hair impeccably styled, distinguished in the way villains in movies always were. He wore an expensive suit untouched by the chaos below and held a pistol with the casual confidence of someone who knew how to use it. "Archie Lambert," Dermot drawled, a chilling smile playing on his lips. "Or should I say Ghost? That was your call sign, wasn't it?" His voice was smooth, a predator savoring its prey. "I've waited 20 years for this." "Then you've wasted 20 years," Archie retorted, his voice raspy but firm. "Oh, I don't think so. I've built an empire while you've been pushing a mop. Who's really won?" "The man whose daughter is still breathing." Archie countered, his gaze unwavering. Dermot's smile faded, replaced by a cold fury. "Not for long. You cost me everything that night. My reputation, my connections, millions in lost revenue. And for what? To save some politician's brat." "Oh, to save a child?" Archie corrected, his eyes burning with conviction. "That's all she was. A child. And now she's the CEO who's about to die in a tragic building fire." Dermot gestured to his remaining men. "Kill him. Slowly." The 3 mercenaries advanced, a synchronized, deadly dance. Archie was tired, injured, outnumbered, bleeding, but he had been in worse situations. And he had survived because he knew something they didn't how to fight when everything mattered, when the stakes were Adelaide's life. The first mercenary came high, a swift, brutal attack. Archie ducked, driving his shoulder into the man's gut, using his momentum to throw him into the second. They tangled, going down in a heap. The third pulled a knife, its blade glinting menacingly. Archie caught his wrist, twisted hard, and heard the sickening snap. The man screamed, a raw, primal sound of pain. Archie silenced him with a swift elbow to the temple. The first 2 were already getting back up, groggy but determined. Archie grabbed a heavy desk lamp, its glass base surprisingly solid, and swung it like a club. Glass shattered with a sharp crack, and one went down again. The other lunged a desperate, wild attack. Archie sidestepped, tripped him, and the man's head connected with a filing cabinet with a sound that made Dermot wince. Then it was just Dermot and his pistol, his last remaining advantage. The older man's hand shook slightly, betraying a flicker of unease. "You should have stayed hidden." "I tried," Archie gasped. "You found me anyway because you were sloppy sentimental. A child made you weak." "No," Archie said, stepping forward, each movement an agony but his voice resolute. "A child made me strong." Dermot fired. Archie moved, his reflexes still sharp, the bullet grazing his shoulder, a searing pain that only fueled his resolve. He kept coming. Dermot fired again, missed his aim, faltering under the pressure. Then Archie was on him, a whirlwind of desperation and primal fury. The pistol clattered away useless. They went down hard, a tangle of limbs and grunts. Dermot was trained, yes, but Archie was desperate. And desperation, he knew, beat training every single time. It ended with Dermot unconscious, lying sprawled on the pristine floor, and Archie leaning against the wall, bleeding and utterly exhausted but victorious. Behind him, a door opened slowly. Adelaide stood there, her small face streaked with tears, her eyes wide with shock. Alexandra was right behind her, her own face pale, her hands trembling. "Daddy!" Adelaide cried, running to him. Archie caught her with his good arm, holding her close, pressing her small body against his. "It's okay, baby. It's over. It's all over." But Adelaide pulled back her gaze, fixing on the blood soaking his shirt. "You're hurt." "Just a little." Archie reassured her, a weak smile on his lips. "Daddy's tough." "You're very tough," Alexandra said quietly, her voice thick with emotion, tears streaming down her own face now unchecked. "Thank you." Archie looked at her over Adelaide's head. their eyes meeting in a moment of profound understanding. "You'd have done the same for me," he said. "I don't know if I would have been brave enough. Bravery isn't about being fearless." Alexandra countered, her voice now steady. "It's about being terrified and doing it anyway." Police arrived 12 minutes later, sirens wailing, breaking the silence of the night. The FBI arrived 20 minutes after that, an elite team swarming the floor. By sunrise, Dermot Rispin was in federal custody, facing enough charges to ensure he would never see freedom again. The mercenaries he'd hired were rounded up, their synchronized movements now replaced by the clatter of handcuffs. The people he'd planted inside Adelaide Corporation were swiftly removed, their treachery exposed. Archie Lambert, his body battered but his spirit unbroken, sat in a hospital bed getting stitches with his daughter Adelaide, now calm and safe asleep in the chair beside him. The government came with offers: a return to service, full reinstatement, better pay, a life of purpose once more. Archie listened politely, his gaze distant, and then declined. "My daughter needs a father, not a weapon. I'm done being a weapon." They accepted his answer, their faces impassive, and left. But Alexandra stayed. "I have an offer, too," she said, her voice soft but firm. "Head of security for Adelaide Corporation, a real salary, full benefits, an apartment in a building with actual working heat, and most importantly, hours that let you be there when your daughter needs you." "I'm not qualified." Archie began, a flicker of his old self-doubt. "You stopped a coordinated assault by 8 trained operatives." Alexandra countered, a faint, weary smile on her lips. "You're overqualified. And before you say no, think about Adelaide. She deserves better than a one-room apartment and second-hand clothes." Archie looked at his sleeping daughter, her small, innocent face bathed in the soft morning light. "I don't want charity. It's not charity. It's payment for services rendered." Alexandra paused, her gaze earnest. "And maybe it's more than that. You saved my life twice. The least I can do is help improve yours. Why? Because 20 years ago you showed me that good people exist. That someone would come when I needed them most. Let me be that person for Adelaide, please." Archie was quiet for a long time, the weight of her words settling over him. Then, a new light in his eyes, he spoke. "Then she'd need to stay in her current school, and I'd need weekends off." Alexandra smiled, a genuine warm smile that transformed her face. "Done." 3 months later, on a Saturday morning, 3 people walked through the park near Alexandra's building, bathed in the soft glow of the spring sun. Archie, his shoulder fully healed, pushed Adelaide on the swings, his movements fluid and strong. Alexandra sat nearby on a bench, watching them with something that looked remarkably like peace on her face. She had traded her red power dresses for comfortable jeans on weekends, letting her hair down literally and figuratively, shedding layers of her old, guarded self. Adelaide jumped off the swing mid-arc, landed perfectly, and ran to them, her laughter bright and clear. "Did you see?" she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. "I flew." "You did," Archie said, catching her like a bird, a gentle, powerful embrace. "Like the best bird." Adelaide took both their hands. Archie's on one side, Alexandra's on the other, her small fingers linking them together. "Can we get ice cream?" she asked, her voice brimming with childlike hope. "It's 10 o'clock in the morning," Alexandra said, a hint of amusement in her tone. "Ice cream doesn't have a time," Adelaide argued with perfect 7-year-old logic. Alexandra looked at Archie, who merely shrugged, a faint smile on his lips. The kid makes a good point. They walked together toward the ice cream cart, a small, unconventional family unit. Adelaide swung playfully between them, chattering animatedly about a book she was reading, a new friend she'd made, and a butterfly she'd seen. Normal things, beautiful things, the simple joys of a safe and carefree childhood. At one point, Adelaide looked up at her father, her gaze earnest. "Daddy." "Yeah, sweetheart. We're safe now, right? The bad men are gone." Archie squeezed her hand, a silent promise. We're safe. I promise. Good, because I like it here. I like Alexandra. I like our new home. She paused, her small voice thoughtful. Do you think Mommy would like it too? Archie's throat tightened, a sudden ache in his chest. He looked at Alexandra, who had tears in her eyes, tears she no longer fought back. Yeah, baby, he whispered. I think she'd love it. She'd be proud of you, and me. Adelaide seemed satisfied. She skipped ahead toward the ice cream cart, leaving the two adults walking behind a comfortable silence settling between them. Thank you, Alexandra said softly, her voice filled with genuine emotion, for letting me be part of this. Thank you for giving us a chance at something better. Is it better? Archie looked at his daughter, laughing in the sunshine, safe and happy and loved. Yeah, he said, a profound certainty in his voice. It's better. Alexandra slipped her hand into his, a quiet gesture. It wasn't romantic, not yet, but it was promising the beginning of something that might grow if given time and care. Archie let it happen. For the first time in 7 years, he let himself imagine a future that wasn't just about survival. They reached the ice cream cart. Adelaide ordered strawberry. Alexandra, a soft smile playing on her lips, ordered vanilla. Archie, a quiet contentment in his eyes, ordered chocolate. They sat on a park bench, 3 people who had found each other in the darkness, and decided to build something new, something full of light. Daddy, Adelaide said through a mouthful of strawberry ice cream, her voice muffled but clear. You're the best daddy in the whole world. Archie kissed the top of her head. You're the best Adelaide in the whole world. She giggled, a sound of pure joy. Alexandra smiled, a deep, genuine happiness radiating from her. And for a moment everything was exactly as it should be, safe, warm together. The past had tried to destroy them, had tried to define them by trauma and violence, but they had survived. More than survived, they had found a way forward. Not by forgetting what came before, but by refusing to let it define what came next. In the distance, the city hummed with life, its endless symphony a backdrop to their peace. Adelaide Corporation Tower gleamed against the sky, a symbol now of resilience and unexpected connection rather than just cold power. Somewhere bad people still existed. Somewhere darkness still waited. But here, in this precious moment, there was only sunshine and ice cream, and the sound of a little girl's laughter. And that they knew was enough. That, in fact, was everything.